We often hear that silence is powerful, that by withdrawing you can make a man realize what he lost. And while there is truth to that, let me tell you something. Silence alone ain't enough. It's not the absence of words that makes him feel your loss. It's what he notices in your absence that shifts the dynamic. If all you do is disappear and hope he comes running back, you're relying on wishful thinking, not strategy. Think about it. When a man walks away without warning, his initial reaction might be curiosity. But curiosity is fleeting. If he assumes you're just sulking, punishing him, or waiting in the shadows for him to reach out, your absence doesn't feel like a loss to him. It feels like an open invitation to reconnect on his terms whenever he chooses. That's not power, baby. That's passivity. And it's exactly why so many women go silent only to find themselves ignored, forgotten, or even replaced. But when your silence is paired with change, when it carries an energy of forward movement rather than waiting, that's when it becomes something he feels rather than just notices. Because here's the truth. Men don't just miss presence, they miss value. They don't crave what they take for granted. They crave what they no longer have access to, but still desire. So if you disappear, but your energy remains the same. If you're still posting sad quotes, checking his social media, subtly hinting at your pain, he doesn't feel your loss. He just sees your emotions playing out from a distance. He knows exactly where you stand. But when you go silent and your life expands, when your energy subtly shifts from seeking him to seeking yourself, that's when something interesting happens. It forces him to ask a question that wasn't there before. Why does she seem different? What changed? And this is the moment where the balance of power shifts. Not because you're manipulating him, but because you created a contrast between who you were when you were available and who you are now that you're not. Most people think the key to making a man feel your absence is distance. It's not. The key is asterisk evolution. If you disappear and nothing about your energy, presence, or lifestyle evolves, then the only thing that's changed is the fact that you're not talking. And silence without transformation isn't power. It's just an empty void. But if you disappear and your world becomes bigger, if there's an undeniable shift in how you carry yourself, suddenly he doesn't just feel your absence. He starts questioning his role in your life. He starts wondering if maybe he overestimated his importance in your story. And that's the moment where you regain control. Not because you played a game, but because you stop making him the center of your focus. Now, this is where a lot of women make mistakes. They assume that if they cut contact and then post a bunch of photos looking amazing, that's enough to trigger a reaction. But that's just another form of waiting for validation. The real shift happens when your transformation is so authentic, so unconcerned with whether he's watching, that it becomes magnetic. The best way to make a man feel your absence is to make sure that when he does check back in, he sees something he doesn't recognize. And here's where it gets really interesting, because when a man starts to feel that shift, he doesn't just react emotionally, he reacts psychologically. Men don't like to feel replaceable. They don't like to feel like their presence or absence didn't really change anything. And when a man sees that your world didn't just continue without him, but actually expands it, it creates a gap between how he thought you would respond and how you actually did. That gap is uncomfortable. That gap is what makes him rethink. So if you truly want to make him feel your absence, don't just remove yourself. Remove his ability to assume he still knows you. Become someone he has to figure out again. And let's be clear, this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about rediscovering parts of yourself that maybe you forgot when you were so caught up in trying to be enough for him. Maybe you stopped prioritizing your passions, your friendships, your own ambitions. Maybe you started shrinking to fit into what you thought he wanted. Going silent isn't about punishing a man. It's about giving yourself the space to return to the most magnetic version of who you are. And in doing that, you create the most powerful effect of all. You become less predictable. Because the truth is, men don't feel the loss of something they believe they can always get back. But when your silence is paired with undeniable growth, when your energy is no longer accessible in the same way, that's when they begin to question not just where you went, but whether they even still have a place in your world. And that question, more than any silence, is what lingers. So if you take one thing from this, let it be this: silence alone is never the answer. Asterisk. And when you truly commit to that, you won't need to worry about whether he feels your absence. Because by the time he does, you'll already be somewhere he never expected. When you go silent, it's not just about removing your presence. It's about replacing that space with something far more powerful. Asterisk, mystery. Most people don't realize this, but predictability kills attraction. If a man knows exactly where you stand, exactly how you feel, and exactly what you'll do next, he doesn't need to wonder about you. And when there's nothing to wonder about, there's nothing to miss. So when you pull away, the goal isn't just absence, it's uncertainty. It's creating a space where he no longer feels sure of his place in your world. And this is where most women make a critical mistake. They think that going silent means completely vanishing, cutting off all ties, and waiting for the man to come searching. But silence isn't about hiding. It's about shifting the energy of the dynamic. It's about making him question what he thought he knew about you. Imagine this. A man pulls away from you, and instead of disappearing into sadness or making it obvious that you're waiting for him, you start moving differently. You become unpredictable. You're no longer responding in the way he expects. You're no longer available in the way he took for granted. Suddenly, he doesn't know where you stand. And that shift from certainty to curiosity is what makes him feel your absence on a deeper level. Because here's the psychological truth. Men are drawn to what they don't fully understand. When he was with you, he thought he knew you. He thought he had you figured out. And as long as he feels that certainty, he doesn't feel compelled to chase, to question, to reflect. But the moment he feels that certainty slipping away, the moment he senses that he may have misread you, that's when his mind starts turning. Think about it. How often do we find ourselves obsessing over unanswered questions? It's not closure that keeps people up at night. It's the lack of closure. When something doesn't fully make sense, when a story doesn't have a clean ending, our brains try to fill in the gaps. And that's exactly what happens when your absence is paired with mystery. He starts to wonder, did I misjudge her? Did I think she needed me more than she actually did? Is she really moving on? Or is she just pretending? And once those questions start, they don't stop. That's the moment when your presence, ironically, through your absence, becomes something he feels, something that lingers in his mind long after he expected to stop thinking about you. Now, you might be wondering, how do I create this sense of mystery without playing games? And that's an important question because this isn't about manipulation. It's not about trying to make a man jealous or posting things just to get a reaction. It's about a genuine shift in how you carry yourself. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to do this is through asterisk contrasting. If you were always the one reaching out, always the one available, and then suddenly you're not, that's contrast. If he used to see you posting about your feelings and now you're posting about an exciting new experience, a new focus in your life, that's contrast. If he expected you to be waiting in the wings, but instead you're out there thriving in a way he didn't expect, that's contrast. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because when you create contrast, you force him to reframe the way he saw you. He might have assumed you were the one who cared more, the one who was there no matter what, the one who would always be an option. But when you disrupt that assumption, you challenge his entire perception of you. And that challenge is what creates attraction. See, most people think attraction is about physical presence, but real attraction, the kind that lingers, the kind that pulls a man back in, is about emotional uncertainty. Not in a way that's toxic, but in a way that makes him realize he doesn't fully understand you anymore. And once a man starts feeling that uncertainty, he starts seeking answers. He starts looking at your old messages, replaying conversations, noticing things he didn't notice before. He starts wondering if he miscalculated your value, if he underestimated what you brought to his life. That's when he feels your absence. Not because you disappeared, but because the version of you he assumed would always be there isn't. And here's the most powerful part. When a man starts feeling this way, it's not just about missing you. It's about missing how he felt when he had you. Because let's be honest, people don't just crave another person. They crave the feeling that person gave them. And when he starts wondering if he lost something truly irreplaceable, that's when the real regret sets in. But here's the key. By the time he reaches this realization, you won't be in the same place he left you. Because your job isn't to sit around waiting for a man to notice your worth. Your job is to step so fully into your own power, your own happiness, that by the time he does notice, you've already outgrown the version of yourself he once knew. This is where most women get it wrong. They go silent, hoping that the man will suddenly wake up and realize their worth. But worth is in something you convince a man of. It's something he witnesses. And the only way he truly witnesses it is if he sees that your life is expanding without him. If he sees that you aren't just gone, you're elevating. That's when your absence stops being just a missing piece and starts feeling like a profound loss. So what does that actually look like? It looks like using this time not to wait, not to prove a point, but to genuinely become the version of yourself that a man would regret losing. It means throwing yourself into your passions, into your goals, into the things that make you outside of that relationship. Because here's the thing, when he left or when you left, he had a certain image of you in his mind. He categorized you in a way that made him comfortable. And as long as you remain that same person, that image stays intact. But when you evolve, when you start showing up differently, when you start exuding a new energy, suddenly he has to recalculate. He starts asking himself, did I really know her as well as I thought I did? Was I too quick to assume she'd always be there? And that's when the shift happens. Because when a man realizes that you're not just missing from his life, but that you're becoming someone he no longer has access to, it triggers something much deeper than just nostalgia. It triggers loss. And loss is different from missing someone. Missing is passive. It's longing without urgency. Loss is active. It's the realization that something is slipping away in real time, that something they once had the privilege of experiencing is now moving beyond their reach. Think about it. When we see an ex thriving, when we see someone we took for granted stepping into their power, it forces us to face a truth we may have ignored. They were always more than we gave them credit for. That's what makes a man feel your absence on a visceral level. Not just because you're no longer in his life, but because your absence highlights what he failed to appreciate. Now here's the key. You can't fake this. You can't just post a few carefully curated moments on social media and expect that to do the work for you. True transformation is felt, not staged. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you interact with the world, the way you move forward without looking back. It's the undeniable confidence that comes from someone who is no longer waiting to be valued, but who is actively creating their own value. This is why silence alone isn't enough. Because if all you do is disappear, he might notice your absence, but he won't feel it. What makes him feel it is the realization that you are stepping into a version of yourself that he never fully understood, never fully supported, and now potentially never fully gets to experience again. And here's where it gets even more interesting. When a man sees you evolving, his first reaction isn't always admiration. Sometimes it's confusion. He might downplay it, assume it's temporary, tell himself that it's all for show. But over time, as he keeps seeing the shift, as he keeps witnessing your growth, it becomes undeniable. And at that moment, the balance of power changes because now he's the one questioning what he had. He's the one wondering if he miscalculated. He's the one realizing that while he might have been content in his decision before, he's no longer sure he made the right one. This is why moving on isn't about proving anything to anyone. It's about becoming someone who no longer needs to. Because when you truly step into your worth, the people who doubted it will feel it. Not because you forced them to, but because it will be impossible for them not to. So when you go silent, don't just wait for him to notice. Give him something to notice. Become so focused on your own growth that by the time he looks back, the person he thought he knew is no longer standing in the same place. And when that happens, the real question won't be whether he misses you. It will be whether he even deserves a place in the life you're creating. Now, when you go silent, it's not just about cutting communication. It's about shifting energy. It's about redirecting the emotional investment you once poured into this person back into yourself. Because silence on its own, that's just an absence of noise. But silence paired with an undeniable shift in how you carry yourself, how you move through the world, how you focus on your own elevation, that's when he feels it. See, most people assume that going silent is enough to make a man realize what he's lost. But what really makes a man feel your absence is not just that you're no longer there. It's that your energy is no longer accessible. It's that you've reclaimed your emotional power and now he doesn't get to experience the warmth, the attention, the presence that he may have once taken for granted. And this is where most women struggle because silence, if you're not careful, can turn into waiting. It can turn into quietly hoping he'll reach out, subtly checking for signs that he's missing you, pausing your own progress in the hopes that your absence is making an impact. But true emotional detachment isn't about waiting for a man to notice you're gone. It's about creating a life so full, so expensive, so undeniably yours that by the time he does notice, he realizes he no longer has access to you in the same way. This is what makes absence powerful, because the truth is, men don't always feel your loss immediately. They feel it in the moments. They expect you to be there and you're not. They feel it when they reach for your energy and realize it's no longer available to them. It's when they notice that their messages don't get the same instant responses. That the little inside jokes that used to exist between you no longer have an audience. That their name doesn't light up on your phone anymore. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're genuinely too busy living your life. And it's important to understand why this is so powerful. Human beings are wired to crave validation, to seek connection, to feel important in someone's world. When you remove yourself from a man's life, he will only truly feel that loss if he realizes he no longer holds the same place in yours. If you're still emotionally tied to him, still lingering in his orbit, still subtly trying to provoke a reaction, he won't truly feel your absence. He'll feel your attempt to make him miss you. And there's a big difference. Think about it like this. Imagine walking into a room you used to frequent, expecting to find everything just as you left it. But instead, you walk in and realize the entire space has changed. The furniture is different. The energy is different. The things that used to make you feel at home are no longer there. That's what it feels like when a man comes back expecting the same version of you, only to realize that you've moved forward without him. That's what shakes people. Not just the silence itself, but the change that happens within it. Now, this isn't about being cold or spiteful. It's not about proving a point. It's about recognizing that the most powerful thing you can do for yourself, and the thing that will make him truly feel your absence, is to stop giving him the emotional real estate he once occupied. Because the more energy you spend wondering if he's thinking about you, if he's missing you, if he's regretting his choices, the more you keep yourself tethered to him. Instead, that energy should be redirected into something greater, into you, into your passions, into the things that light you up, into experiences that remind you of your own value. Not just as someone he might miss, but as someone who is worth so much more than waiting for someone else's realization. Because here's the reality. The more you pour into yourself, the more you step into your own power, the more undeniable you become. And when a man sees that you are no longer emotionally dependent on his validations, when he realizes that his absence didn't break you, but built you into something even stronger, that's when he feels it. That's when it hits him. Not just that you're gone, but that the version of you he once had access to no longer exists. And that's the kind of absence people remember. So if you're going silent, make it count. Don't just disappear. Elevate. Don't just remove yourself. Redefine yourself. Because the goal isn't to make him chase you. The goal is to become so deeply connected to your own growth that by the time he realizes what he lost, you're too busy thriving to even notice. When you go silent, the real power isn't just in the absence. It's in the transformation that happens within that silence. Most people think that silence is about withholding communication, but it's not. Silence, when used correctly, isn't passive. It's active. It's not just about what you take away from him. It's about what you build in yourself. And this is where most women get it wrong. They think, if I just stop talking to him, if I just disappear for a while, he'll realize what he lost. But it doesn't work like that. Because if all you do is remove yourself, but remain emotionally stuck in the same place, he doesn't feel your absence. He just notices your silence. What really makes a man feel your absence isn't just that you've stopped communicating. It's that you've shifted in a way that forces him to reevaluate your value. It's that he looks at you now and realizes that the version of you he thought would always be accessible no longer exists. And that's where true absence is felt. Not in your physical distance, but in the energetic shift that makes it clear you're no longer operating at the same level. Here's what that means in real terms. When you go silent, you don't just pause your life and wait. You redefine yourself. You expand in ways that make it undeniable that you are no longer the person he took for granted. You develop new habits. You build new confidence. You immerse yourself in new experiences. Because the truth is, men don't miss you when you disappear. They miss you when they see that you've evolved. Think about it. When do we feel the strongest sense of loss? It's not just when something is taken away. It's when something grows beyond us. When we realize we no longer have access to something that was once ours. If you disappear but remain the same, he can always assume you're still there waiting in the background. But when you disappear and reemerge as someone he doesn't even recognize anymore, someone stronger, happier, more confident, that's when it truly registers. So what does this look like in action? It means using your silence as a tool for self-mastery. If you were once emotionally reactive, this is your time to cultivate emotional control. If you used to be overly available, this is your time to create boundaries and reclaim your time. If you felt lost in the relationship, this is your time to reconnect with yourself so deeply that no one ever gets to define your worth again. Because let's be clear, when a man sees that you are thriving without him, that's when he starts to wonder. That's when the questions creep in. Was I wrong about her? Did I underestimate her? Is she actually better off without me? And those questions, those quiet moments of realization are far more powerful than any message you could ever send. But the key is, you're not doing this for him. That's the distinction. If you make your evolution about his reaction, you're still giving him power. You're still operating from a place of hoping he'll notice. The real shift happens when you genuinely stop caring about his perception and start living for yourself. When you stop measuring your progress by whether or not he reaches out and start measuring it by how deeply fulfilled you feel within your own life. And here's what's ironic. That's the exact moment he does start noticing. Because human nature is wired for attraction to strength, confidence, and self-assuredness. We are drawn to people who are moving forward, who radiate certainty, who are no longer seeking validation. When you step into that space, your absence becomes something he doesn't just notice. It becomes something he feels now. Let's talk about the resistance that might come up. Because for a lot of women, the hardest part isn't going silent. It's trusting that silence will work. It's the fear that if you stop reaching out, if you stop making yourself known, he'll forget about you entirely. But here's what you need to understand. The men who truly valued you will always fill the space you once occupied. And the men who don't, they were never yours to begin with. That's the reality. The man who can walk away without a second thought was never going to show up for you in the way you deserved. And if a man only realizes your value once you're gone, then he never truly saw it in the first place. That's not your loss. It's his. So if you are in this space right now, wondering if your silence is enough, I want you to shift the question. Don't ask, will he notice? Ask asterisk, what am I building in this time that makes me so deeply fulfilled that I no longer need him to notice? Because when you focus on that, when you pour into yourself, when you evolve into the version of you that even you didn't see coming, that's when everything changes. That's when he feels it. Not because you made him, but because your absence speaks louder than any words ever could. If there's one truth you need to hold on to in this entire process, it's this. Your silence is not about punishing him. It's about liberating. Too many women approach going silent as a tactic, as if the goal is to make him feel a sense of loss so overwhelming that he comes running back. But here's the reality. If you're still waiting for that reaction, you're not actually silent. You're just speaking in a different way, hoping he'll listen. True silence is not about making a statement to him. It's about shifting your focus back to yourself. And that's where most women get stuck. They think, okay, I won't text him. I won't call him. I won't engage. But internally, they're still wrapped up in the same emotional energy, checking his social media, analyzing his behavior, wondering what he's thinking. And that's the problem. Because silence isn't just about cutting off communication.